Hello everyone and welcome to Clarksville's Political Forum. I'm Van Stokes, your moderator for today's session. And on behalf of Leadership Clarksville and the Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce, we're glad you could be with us for today's forum. This forum is coming to you from the facilities of the Mass Communications Department here on the campus of Austin Peay State University. And it's intended for you, the viewers and the voters, to have an informed choice when you go to the polls to vote. Today, we will have the opportunity to meet and greet and hear from the candidates who will be on the ballot for the County Commission representing District Number 14. They are, to my left, Mr. Tommy Vallejos and Mr. Sam Houston. In a moment, they will each have 2 minutes in which to present opening comments. Following their opening remarks, we will turn to our panelists for questions. Joining us today, on my right, are our panelists. The business editor and county government writer for the Leaf Chronicle, Mr. Jimmy Settle. From 5 Star Radio and ClarksvilleNow, Mr. Lee Irwin. And the executive director of Progressive Directions and president-elect of Civitan International, Mr. Jay Albertia. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each of the questions posed by our panelists in a rotating order. At the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes in which to provide a closing statement. Closing statements will be provided in reverse order from the opening statements. Our timekeeper for the day is Miss Lacey Groves. County commissioners are voted into office for 4-year terms, and they are elected by voters from their respective districts. The County Commission meets twice monthly to discuss and vote on a variety of resolutions and issues, including county government policy, the county budget, school system budget, and property tax rates, just to include a few issues. County commissioners serve on various committees as well that are devoted to specific departments or specific subject areas, and they range from the county jail to animal control and many other areas. Let's go now to our candidates for opening comments. First, we will hear opening remarks from Mr. Tommy Vallejos.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you to Leadership Clarksville. Also, thank you to the Chamber for hosting this, and thank you for the Austin Peay Media Department for working it. To District 14, I want to thank you for allowing me to serve you for the past 4 years. I want to also tell you that I've served you with you in mind, and today I want to ask for your support once again. Since you last elected me in 2010, I've been busy in the community and at the local level, at the state level. I've graduated from Leadership Clarksville and also graduated from Leadership Middle Tennessee. And I'm currently enrolled in Leadership CM Clarksville Montgomery Schools, which is completed in May. I travel countywide teaching gang awareness to our local schools and staying engaged. I've fought to maintain a strong sheriff's department and keep you aware of my daily works. I'm also staying involved at the state level, being elected as the president of Tennessee County Commission Association. Because of my work, I was awarded the Business Champion by the Tennessee Small Business Administration, and I received that award on your behalf. I work closely with the youth, allowing them to and showing them that they can reach their potential. I continue to push for cutting waste and working with what we have and not with more. Our growth is pushing a demand on county government, and I always want to spend wiser and not more. I attend all meetings that are assigned to me, and I answer every single email and call that comes my way. I like the saying by Sam Walton. I'm reminded, he said, there is only one boss, the customer, and he could fire everyone in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. I'm reminded that you're my boss, and I respect that, and I'll answer every single call. I have knocked on many doors from Lark down to Turner Lane, down to Singletree and Sugar Tree, and all of you have told me so many things that you want from your county government. So I'm asking you, once again, I've heard you, and to the veterans who I've worked hard for, I continue to advocate on your behalf and ask you to get registered to vote. I want you to know, as a retiree of the Army, I have an old saying, you can get the retiree out of the Army, but you can't get the Army out of the retiree. I fought hard for the veterans, not just taking my position for granted as a county commissioner, but as your representative. Thank you, and I ask for your support.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have opening comments from Mr. Sam Houston.
Thank you. Thank you, Commerce of Clarksville and the leadership of Clarksville. No one knows me in this community. I've never run for office before. I'm not from this area originally. I moved here in 1988 with 5th Special Forces Group. The Army moved me here. I've been here ever since. I've lived in this community. I've raised my kids, and now my grandkids I'm raising in this community. We love this community, and this community has given so much to us, and we want to give back to it. I do. I worked with 5th Special Forces Group up until 2005. 2005, I retired and became a contractor and worked until approximately 2010. At 2010, I decided to take a break. After 21 long years in the Army and contracting, I decided I was going to retire. That lasted about a year, and then I decided I couldn't stay around the house any longer. So I took up substitute teaching here in Montgomery County. And what a learning experience that was. I've been in and out of most every single high school except for Montgomery Central within the Clarksville-Montgomery County school system, and into most of the middle schools and the grade schools. And I can tell you that we have some of the finest teachers there are in this nation. And I want to help to further not only our education, but our community as a whole. Now, I'm here and I'm running for District 14 against Mr. Vallejos. I will be a man that will listen to everyone's needs and everyone's opinions before I make a decision. Thank you.
And thank you, gentlemen, for those opening comments. Let's turn now to our panelists. For a series of questions, Mr. Jimmy Settle, you have the first question, and it will go to Mr. Vallejos for the first response.
Thank you. Mr. Vallejos, please pinpoint, if you will, and describe those aspects of your personal and professional life that you feel uniquely qualify you for service on the Montgomery County Commission, in your case being reelected.
Well, thank you, Mr. Settles. Well, first of all, I serve locally as a pastor, and I'm a pastor to over 2,200 congressional members of my church. Now, many of those that are in our church are great citizens of this community, and they've come to me for help. But just like the constituents of my district, they've seen my ability to get things done, things within government, things will help with the kids in school. I've been answering all those questions, and I've directed them when I couldn't answer them. So I've always stayed engaged. So I believe my involvement, my engagement qualifies me. Not just that I, like my opponent, served 21 years in the United States Army. I know what it is to be a professional and to care. I've never lost that care. I still care about my constituents. Talk about professionalism. 2 weeks ago, I taught a gang awareness class to over 200 kids and over 100 parents who came to Daymar Institute to hear how to reach the potential in their kids and how to get it out of them, how to stop them involved in drugs. So I have so many aspects, and the government, I appreciate the things I've learned, and I'm going to continue to learn to save the taxpayer.
Thank you. Mr. Houston, you have the next response to the same question.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Yes, basically, if you could just please pinpoint and describe those aspects of your personal and professional life that you feel uniquely qualify you for a seat on the Montgomery County Commission.
Thank you, and that's a great question. My personal life is, I'm a Christian man, first and foremost. Secondly, I'm a family man. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. Thirdly, my experience with the military and leadership. I've been exposed to being responsible my entire adult life, not being just responsible for myself, but for many other people. And I've had to budget, and I've had to care for people. This community that I live in is a good group of neighbors, and they deserve good leadership that will listen to them and will make decisions based on their input, not just mine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee Irwin, you have the next question, and it goes to Mr. Houston.
Thank you. Mr. Houston, a lot of folks will say there are many issues facing our county. So what are a couple of the top issues facing Montgomery County, and how would you propose dealing with those issues?
Well, I think the top issue in our county right now is growth. And growth is a great thing. There's nothing better. But I think we're outgrowing our infrastructure by a long ways. As a matter of fact, we've already outrun it. It's time for us somehow to find a happy medium or an equilibrium there, and to be able to bring our infrastructure up to meet the growth that we have now. And we're going to continue growing. This problem ain't going away. Infrastructure's there. Roads are congested all over town. And that's an afterthought, it seems like, for the people planning our growth. We have a highway, the 101st, that should have already been completed all the way around town to the other side of the river. And that was done years ago, but nothing's been done lately. And I've heard nothing about it. I think as a county commissioner, as county, we should put pressure on our state to go ahead and get that done to ease our traffic jam. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vallejos.
Well, when I think about where our county's come and where it's gone, our growth is phenomenal. We got 189,000 across this county. We continue to grow. Our schools are expanding. The demand for jobs are growing. We're having 400 to 600 soldiers ETS and retire here locally. So the demands there, we can't rest on our laurels on what we've done in the past. Yes, we've had great success, but we got to keep going forward. Recently, I met with our new economic director who came in and talked to him, and I expressed some of these concerns about our growth. Whereas we can't handle the structure within the city because we're 2 seats of government, I understand our limit, but as the president of Tennessee County Commission, I've worked strongly with our state delegation, ensuring that we get money here to the needed structure, to the growth at Exit 8 for the tire company that's coming right there. The growth is phenomenal. I've worked closely with our schools. I hear everybody's concerns, and we're growing as fast as we can, but we can't get carried away, and we got to handle it smartly. Also, there's a study that's pending, and I think that's smart. Working with ourselves and with Nashville, we can get some answers on the MSAs.
Thank you very much. Mr. J. Albertia, you have the next question. Mr. Vallejos, you have the next response.
Mr. Vallejos, both of you have addressed the major concerns for our community, but what specific do you see that is the top priority for your district, and how do you go about addressing that problem that you see?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is my district we've gotten a total of 6 new subdivisions in my district. During redistricting, I originally had over 1,400 constituents in my district. I now have about 8,200, and with the additional subdivisions, that's probably going to climb. So my concerns is to work in partnership and in concert with the city council, and also some of the roads that run through the city are state roads. So that's a big time partnership that we've got to work with our senators and our 3 state representatives and telling them, hey, our concerns are within my district. Also, there's a lot of concerns that are within the crime, and so my address is working with the churches. I was the past president of the Minister Association, and I got the churches involved. I helped start up a men's shelter, and there's a lot of homelessness. There's a couple homeless camps that I've been able to address and bring them into the fold. And so just working with the families. I've been married 31 years, and the greatest wisdom I've ever gotten was from my wife. And she said, listen, and go out there and talk. And I did that. I've talked to over 200 houses the past week.
Mr. Houston.
Again, the greatest issue that we have in our district is infrastructure. Trenton Road is a nightmare. Nothing has been done, nothing has been said about Trenton Road. At any given time at the intersection of Trenton Road and Needmore, it will be backed up at least a half of a mile. All right, that's become a major thoroughfare. Some of the neighborhoods that Mr. Vallejos is talking about is built on that road. On the corner, there was a major apartment complex built there. It seems to me that, again, that we're jumping ahead and we're putting the cart before the horse. We're working in a vacuum. We need to sit down one with another with the city, and we need to come up with solutions and consider the growth that's going on. It should be controlled growth, not out of control growth. Thank you.
Mr. Jimmy Settle, you have the next question, and Mr. Houston, you have the first response on this question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Houston, in the County Commission, matching funding to where it's most needed is always a big issue at all levels of government, for that matter. In your opinion, are the county departments adequately funded? And if not, what are the needs that are not being addressed and should be addressed first?
Well, listen, we know no department is going to tell you that they're adequately funded. There's always more they can want, they can have more, they can do more. But here's the problem. The taxpayers' money is limited, all right? So we have to work within what we have, and we have to be efficient, and we have to provide for those departments as best as we can, but we have to work efficiently and make each one of those dollars go an extra mile. Now, I know it's nice to have all of the little things that each one of the departments wants. I know the Sheriff's Department was talking about being underfunded and working on a budget that's lower now than 3 years ago. Well, sometimes we just have to make do with what we have.
Mr. Vallejos?
Thank you. Well, let me respond to this. Right now currently our tax rate is at 314. Our pennies are currently valued about 324,000, and so we have over 1,100 employees in county government. We got over 4,000 employees within the school. Of course, we know we fund 60% of the school's budget. This year, the state's revenues were down, and so now let's bring it down to our level. What's important is these departments are growing, the needs are growing, the county's growing. But just like I've said in every budget meeting, and the Lead Chronicle has quoted, just because we have more doesn't mean we got to spend more. I was quoted as being the budget hawk of the budget committee because I take away and I cut. I believe we got to continue that, but at the same time, we can't leave them in danger and harm our community. I believe we got to use wisdom in that. Also, you know, we had an operating budget last year of over $368 million. And large, of course, 6% of that went to the schools. So we got to have constraints, and we can't have, you could put copy machines in some of this department that copy money, it wouldn't be enough for them. But as a commissioner that represents my constituents, I've got to tell them no and not be afraid to tell them no.
Mr. Irwin, your question goes to Mr. Vallejos.
Mr. Vallejos, both of you candidates have talked about growth. So let's talk about the Clarksville Montgomery County school system, which of course the county commissioners work closely with. What would you offer as a way to help keep up with the continuing growth of the Clarksville Montgomery County school system?
Thank you so much for that question. When I first came into the commission, I was very concerned that we had a bunch of cookie cutter schools all over the county. There was people that were being rezoned right across the street from the school. Didn't make sense. I fought hard against our previous director, and we didn't always agree, and therefore he left. Well, the new one came in, and we sat down. BJ's a great one. Dr. Warrington does a great job. But one of my points was we needed to build larger schools or schools with the capacity to be added on to, or maybe 2 levels at schools. Don't be afraid to be added on, because all we're doing is building a lot of little schools, and we couldn't do that. The directors agreed, and the past 2 schools have been done that way. So we got to build smartly. But here's at the same time, when we rezone, we got to rezone with what's coming ahead. And I think I push for the schools, they need to attend the regional planning meeting so they can address this to our home builders association, all the buildings going on, without even addressing the concerns of the schools. So the schools got to work in concert with the builders and the regional planning. We all got to come together and meet, because we can't keep building little bitty schools. We got to build schools that have the capacity to be added onto.
Mr. Houston.
First off, if you go to the intersection of Tiny Town and Peters Mill Road and you drew a circle 5 miles out, you would run across 4 different grade schools, 5 miles. Does that make sense? No, we haven't built schools that could be added onto, and it seems like we've haphazardly built schools just wherever the school system wants to build them. Education is a great thing, and we have to educate our kids. We have to prepare them for the future. We have to prepare them to fill those jobs that we're going to vacate one day. As I mentioned earlier, controlled growth. As we grow, we need to be looking at maybe some kind of a fee to each one of these new neighborhoods. Each house that goes in, maybe a fee per house that goes into a special fund just for education. Thank you.
Jay Albertia, your question goes to Mr. Houston.
Mr. Houston, what do you see as the role of the county commission playing in economic development in our community?
I see the county commission as the lead in our economic future. We have to work with and make available all the resources we can to bring people in. But let's keep in mind, companies don't come here because we've got a big piece of land, or we upgrade our airport and spend over $1 million on it, on the facility there. They come here because Tennessee is a good place to work, to do business. It's a good place for them to make money. If they couldn't make money, they wouldn't come here. Now, that being said, infrastructure is a big problem. We can bring all the businesses in the world we want in here, but if we don't have the infrastructure to help them and facilitate that, then what good does it do? We're log jammed again. So what we have to do is we have to grow smartly, and we have to control our growth through the process down at Building and Codes. Thank you.
Mr. Vallejos?
Thank you for the question. Well, I think there's a lot to this piece. I think we got to have a strong team at the EDC. We got to have a strong team at the industrial board, and also working in concert. We got to make sure we have the proper land. We have used so much land in bringing in recruiting. We can't stop recruiting. We can't rest on our laurels. We got to continue. And I think one of those things the county commission can work. You hear from the citizens, we can't keep you on land. We can't be doing it. But let me tell you something. None of those people are complaining about the jobs that are here. Their kids are working or they're working at. And with that, we got to continue to work smartly and then work. We got to think regionalism. We got to think about what this region has during leadership. Middle Tennessee. I learned a lot about the 10 counties that surround us. I think we got to work in concert, or we got to be, hearing what they're saying and how, because many of the people in this area come work right here, and then many of us go work in Davidson County. So we got to understand that it's regionalism. We got to have that in mind.
You're watching Clarksville's Political Forum. We are meeting with candidates for the County Commission representing District number 14. They are Mr. Tommy Vallejos and Mr. Sam Houston. Let's continue with our questions from our panelists, and Mr. Settle will go to you next. Your question will go to Mr. Vallejos.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vallejos, as you know, we've put the idea of consolidated government before voters multiple times in referendum in the past, and multiple times it's failed. With that in mind, what are some areas perhaps of county government that could perhaps be consolidated in your view? Any departmental areas that might be brought together? Just what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I am for consolidated government. I believe it's a need that's here. Of course, you got to have 50% of vote in the city and 50% in the county. And the past 2 times attempts at this has failed. While the city voted for it, the county didn't. I think it's needed. I think it shows us there's only 17 metro governments around America right now, and of course our friend down the street in Nashville has it. I think when you look at where the costs are, you can look at consolidating so many things. I mean, if you brought a metro government, you consolidate our building and codes. You could do a lot of things with that. You consolidate all kinds of things that would save us money. It wouldn't save right away, but over a 2-year period, you would see your costs coming. Also, you think about it. You think about the schools and all the money that's going there. We are spending right now. The city has a 2.5% sales tax. I think when you consolidate, that expires in 2015, and having a consolidated government, we wouldn't have to be negotiating. We would be able to bring that together and work in concert together to bring successful schools and funding.
Mr. Houston?
The question was, are there any departments we can consolidate? Is that the question?
That's essentially the question, yes.
Okay. That's a very good question. I think there probably are some departments that we can bring together and have them work in concert one with another. Parks and Recreation would be one of them off the top of my head I can think of. But I think we would have to team up with Clarksville city government and see if we can, if there's any services. Maybe EMS would be one. The key here is we as a county government need to work with the city government as much as we can. Now, our district's in the middle of the city. The county does practically nothing for us in terms of speaking. But we need to work with the city and let them know our opinions and our wishes so we can help them to plan our growth in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Leo, and your question goes to Mr. Sam Houston.
Mr. Houston, let's talk about those departments of the county. Now, how would you propose to maintain a working and, say, a cooperative relationship with the other entities of the county? Now, that includes, of course, the county mayor's office, the school system we've talked about, and also all of those county departments.
How would I work with them as a commissioner?
To get them all to work together.
Oh, great question. You know, that's part of leadership. Leadership has been able to work together. All right, the mayor, the commission, and the school board have to work together in concert in order for good results to come about. The mayor, as we know, is the head of the commission, and she's elected, or he's elected, whoever it may be, and the school board, the director is. I think good leadership means that you can interact with people, use your interpersonal skills. We can bring these departments all three together, and for a common good, we can work together. But we have to be able to sit down, and we have to be open-minded, and we have to be able to talk one with another and come up with solutions to problems that we have. Thank you.
Mr. Vallejos?
Well, I think when you think about working together, I think it takes leadership. Myself, when I first came in, I went and went to every department asking questions. I went and sat with the courts and found out what their need was. And then finding out as the budget years came along and I already knew ahead of time what they were doing in their work. I went and talked to the building maintenance and looked at them and say, hey, we need to organize more, have better accountability of our tools. I also went and met at the trustee's office, and I seen how they were working and how the work was being sporadic. And then I went to the library and seen the needs of the library and how we've eventually encompassed them in part of our pay plan. I also went to the jails and seen the need out there, and also the workhouse, and there's work being done there. I also went as far as met with Ron Streeter with building codes, and because of that relationship, I've been able to solve so many issues that are not even in my district, from putting fences where a new cemetery was purchased, and the people up in Sango, thanked me for that and worked with them, and there's so many things. So when you get into a relationship with people, they trust you and they want to support you, and you end up supporting them. So that's what leadership is about, supporting one another.
Thank you very much. We've heard issues now ranging from growth, the infrastructure, funding priorities, budgeting, consolidated government. We have time for 2 more questions from our panelists. Our next panelist, Mr. J. Albertia, your question will go to Mr. Tommy Vallejos.
Mr. Vallejos, as we talked a few minutes ago, we heard about a study that's going on between Nashville and Clarksville being funded by the city of Clarksville, the county, the Aspire Foundation of the EDC, as well as Nashville. With that, looking at our regional components, what do you think we can gain by that relationship with Nashville, and what do we hope to gain as a community by that?
Well, I appreciate the question. Well, my piece in this is that I went to Leadership Middle Tennessee, and it took over it talked about all 10 counties and how we all can work together. It was a program started by Jack Turner. And recently I met with the new director of the EDC, and we talked about that direct study. And I think the value of the study is how many people in Nashville have a home here in Clarksville, and how many work there, and vice versa. And I think when we learn out of the study, and I think Nashville will be in charge of the study and the final results, we'll learn that our MSA is Clarksville and Stewart County, Todd County, and Christian County. And of course, Nashville has its own. But here's the important part. We'll learn that the growth that is coming here. We'll learn from the studies, our economic studies, our social effects on these studies. And I think once we learn the final result, we can better work together, get the EDC together, get the IDB, and work and say, how can we be an economic giant in this region? Because that's what we are. We're an economic giant. You can see it through the growth and the jobs that are coming here.
Mr. Houston?
Thanks for the question. That's a great question, by the way. Listen, we can learn a lot from Nashville. They're a metropolitan government, and Clarksville is growing to the point where people are starting to bring that question up, and they're pushing that question. We can learn a lot by how they grew, how they dealt with infrastructure problems. Also, we can work with Nashville, because a lot of our residents here in Clarksville, Montgomery County work in Nashville. And if you go out to, I think it's exit 8, you'll see a big old parking lot there full of cars. It's people driving and carpooling and transporting down to there. Maybe out of this, we can come up with some kind of a deal, some kind of something to where we can get maybe a bus route going back and forth that will benefit the residents of Montgomery County. Thank you.
Time for one more question. It will come from Mr. Jimmy Settle, and it will go to Mr. Sam Houston for the first response.
Thank you, Mr. Houston. As the current budget preparation ensues in county government, the underlying question, or at least the understated question, seems to be, can we realistically keep the property tax rate at 314 and provide all the services and needs that are coming before county government in this day and time? So I guess I would like to hear your thoughts on that question. And also, of course, granted, that is also factoring into that is the reappraisal, which is currently underway. But given that, is it realistic to think that we can stay at 314 for the foreseeable future?
Well, I'll tell you, and that's another good question. Can we realistically keep that taxes down? With me as county commissioner, I will do my best to keep it down. I do not support a tax. I do not support raising taxes. I did not support raising the last tax. With the reappraisal going on, taxes are going to come up next year. I think it is anyway, right? When they reappraise, because we know they're going to reappraise and the houses are going to be valued at a higher value. So we know those taxes are going to come up. The voters within our county are going to feel that, our constituents. They're going to feel that, and they're going to have to write a check out of their pocket to make that up. Now, we can make a wish list of all we want, but the top priority is our neighbors. If we can't afford it, government cannot afford it. Thank you.
Mr. Vallejos.
In 2006, the tax rate was 314 at the time, and then after the recession hit and the reappraisal, it brought it back down to about 274, and then eventually the commission brought it up. With our growth that continued to grow up, it went up to 314 to what was previously at 2006, 314. When you look at the growth of this, I think here's the thing about it. You can't be afraid to make tough decisions. I'm not afraid to make the tough decisions. I talked to a constituent, his name is Fred, who lived over there on Sparrow Street. And he chewed me out really good. And after I explained to him where the tax rate had been, and he put it on my Facebook, and he's a common contributor to the editorial. And after I explained to him, he understood, and he said, I want you to know I'm going to support you. Now, I'm not for tax increase. I was called the budget cock of the budget committee because I cut waste, and I continue to. I believe in a smaller government. I don't believe in growing government. I don't think government can be all things to all people at all times. And I think people got to learn that. And so we got to learn to work with what we have. And I believe in that piece of government. But at the same time, I want to use wisdom with the people's money and wisdom with the growth that's going on in our community.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for answering those questions. We go now to our closing comments. They will come in reverse order from those of our opening remarks. We will hear first from Mr. Sam Houston.
Thank you. And again, thank you for inviting me to this forum so the folks in my district will be able to hear from me and see me and know who I am and know a little bit about what I stand for. I will be out in the community, and I have been, and I will continue to be. I will answer any questions anyone wants. And I will be open-minded to any ideals. First off, Clarksville is my home. I care much about Clarksville. All of my grandbabies are here, and they're in the school system here. I care about the education that they're receiving. I care about the education that they're going to receive in the future. And there's an uncertainty there because of the technology, innovations that's coming about in the schools and learning. We already in this state have a online where you can go to school online. Who knows where that's going to lead? But anyway, education's one of the things that I support dearly. The other thing that I support dearly is being a good steward with the money that the people pay in taxes. All right? With that being said, we have to be smarter. We have to work with Clarksville city government, and we have to work together. Together we can do things, and we can cut a lot of waste or a lot of spending out. And a lot of spending that has taken place should never have taken place. The airport is one example that I can think of. It was told to us that it needed to be renovated to pull businesses in. Well, I've worked on an airfield, and I know better than that. a man that owns a business will fly in, get out, get in a car, go, and come back the same way. But it's little things like that that we have to cut out of our government, and we have to listen to our constituents and save them tax dollars.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Next, we'll hear closing comments from Mr. Tommy Vallejos.
Thank you first to Leadership Clarksville and to the Chamber for hosting this event, and to my opponent for showing up today and in this debate. I'm a graduate of Leadership Clarksville, and I proudly serve on the Military Affairs Committee, which is a branch of the Chamber. To the citizens of District 14, I have served you with integrity and honor, and I ask for your support once again. What I realize is the value of serving and representing you on the commission, and I don't take it lightly. I always go to the meetings with the motto, government cannot be all things to all people. That is one reason I give my time in the community, whether it's teaching gang awareness, feeding the hungry, or working with those struggling with drug and alcohol addiction at the Safe Harbor. And whether it's preaching at the jail monthly and helping our inmates. One of my projects recently was working with our Home Builders Association. We built a basketball court at Barker's Mills, and then I brought in my friend Trent Haskell, former NBA player, to donate basketball. All this was done without taxpayer dollars. Not only that, the League Chronicle has quoted me as being the budget hawk of the budget committee, because for 3 years I have cut waste, and this year will be no different. Last year I was elected the president of the Tennessee County Commission Association, representing all 95 counties across this state. I continue to fight for unfunded mandates from our state, and we were heard from. So I was the first one in the county as a county commissioner to serve in that capacity, and I serve with honor. As a retiree, I've been an advocate for veterans' rights and lobbied on behalf of our soldiers on Fort Campbell. I was featured on the cover of MWR Retiree for my unwavering support and my tireless effort in the community in support of our military. During the time when our Congress took away our 1% raise on the COLA, they took it away. I leaped to action. I began to get involved. 7 members and myself of the AUSA board met privately with Representative Marsha Blackburn. I met privately along with Lamar Alexander and got to support and reached across state lines and met with Ed Whitfield and also my friend Rand Paul, who also supports us. We got it restated, and they know my heart. I continue to support all the endeavors that are out there. So in District 14, I've been working for 4 years to represent you and Montgomery County. And as I close this, I'm a pastor, and I stand on Jeremiah 13:3. It says, call unto me, and I shall answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things thou knowest not. God bless you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I want to thank each one of you, Mr. Tommy Vallejos, Mr. Sam Houston, for being with us today, for sharing your time and your thoughts with us and answering the questions from our panelists here today. And most of all, I want to say thank you very much for the most important part of it, and that is being willing to step up and serve the citizens of this great community in which we live. I want to say also thank you to our panelists for your questions today. Once again, very thought-provoking. Well done. Thank you very much. And to those of you who are watching at home, I want to remind you, state primary and county general voting election day will take place on August the 7th. Early voting goes from July the 18th through August the 2nd. You can find more information or place your vote with the Montgomery County Election Commission. They are located at Montgomery Veterans Plaza. That's at 350 Pageant Lane here in Clarksville, Tennessee. Also, once again, I want to say thank you to the Mass Communications Department here at Austin Peay State University, as well as Leadership Clarksville and your Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce for bringing you today's forum. Until next time, I'm Vance Stokes. So long, everyone.